Okay, how do you become irreplaceable?
How do you become irreplaceable? That's a really good question. Yeah, I think it depends on the context of what you're using that word from, because I believe every man should be replaceable, because this is something that's actually very interesting. If you want to be irreplaceable, you're basically saying, how do I become stuck in my position so that no one else can do what I do? Meaning, like, how can I become so valuable that nobody else can? You know, like, basically, I am the only one that can, so I'm irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of ways you would get there. You would become so good at your job, right, that you would be basically paid so much money to do it because nobody else could, right? Let's take you as a photographer as an example. Maybe your photography is so good or videography is so good that I maybe would be impossible to replace you from a skill mastery standpoint, which would be a huge win for you monetarily. Now, where this becomes a danger to humanity and yourself as a man, not as a man, but as a human, right, is that you would basically be creating your own prison. So now I'm gonna start. So you would be basically creating your own prison. And this prison would be that you would have to get so comfortable because each and every year, being so good at what you do, you would get paid more money.
Right.
And as a result, you would basically be paid not to evolve because you cannot be replaced.
Right.
And so it has a catch-22. It would bring you great fortune in society.
What if your evolution is just to become the best that you can be at what you do? Your craft.
That is always part of your evolution. But that is part of your every man's evolution.
So how could, because at the same time, like, in a way, regardless of whether you work a job or you don't, you
didn't ask me about mastery. You asked me about irreplaceable.
I mean irreplaceable in any way.
Right. But if your mastery has evolved, you will absolutely want to be replaced.
You want to retire.
I knew 5 years ago that I was irreplaceable, meaning, like, I knew that my skill was very internally tribal, meaning, like, it was impossible for me to be like, JT, take over, and you'd be like, what do I do? I answer the phone, I don't know how to answer this, like, the way you do, like, close the guy instantly, you know? So I started, that's why in the last 5 years, which you've known me, you've started seeing me appoint and train for years, not just for, like, a minute. You know, I didn't just hire someone and say, hey, you're CEO, you're going to run this. I'm spending a year plus time with each person to just identify that they could be a potential replacement. And then I'm taking 3 to 4 years to teach them the counter basis of what I need to do to be slowly transition over that time, so that by my 40, they are at least 80% functional and I'm available by phone, so that eventually I am forgotten, but I'm still impactful, right? Like, meaning I'm not forgotten in the world, I'm forgotten in that business, as in I am no longer necessary to function in the business, but I will absolutely still get to the freedom and leverage of the benefit of the business, which will allow me to even go further with my Gate of Choice Third Circle DRA teachings. And then in addition to that, I will also be given, more important than that, a pool of talent, which gives me the opportunity to launch any new project, maybe even directly related to my passion then and my core purpose, to come back and say, well, listen, we have the team here, you know, to, like, this is what we want to do. We want to launch a church and we want it to be this way, and this is what we want to do, and give people the choice to no longer worship, but rather become. And as a result of that, we're building this, you know, like, place. And now we have you in design, we have you in photography and videography. And by that time, I would assume you're no longer in this position, you know, like, and we have 10 other photographers working here, and we have, you know, 6 designers, 4 coders, you know, and again, the teams keep expanding. This is the benefit of what I've always said since 8 years ago, when I said, I am not a marketer. Each year, I don't pick a new product to, like, today I'm launching this new thing. We're talking real estate. Next week, we're talking watches. Next week, we're talking cars. Right. Everything I do is a direct byproduct of myself. So if I make myself or yourself irreplaceable, and I'm not consciously attempting to grow past my stage that I'm at now, then I am basically blocked, right? I am blocking myself because I have no other way to evolve. So I have to have enough knowledge to basically say, I've reached a level of mastery so high that the only way I can replace, you know, like, be replaceable, is to be the one replacing myself. Right. You know, not by having someone else say, yeah, listen, we don't want you doing that, because that would be a job that would be living under someone else's mastery, right? Which is okay, again, at some point, but till the end of time, you can't do that, you know? I did that for years, and it's okay, nothing wrong with that. But it's not something you can commit to for 30 years and say, I want to work this job because it guarantees me, you know, money.